back. Let's do some shooty bang bang just to end this out. I'm tired. Just it's the whole sing and dance again. I mean, that's one of those things that happen when you get older. Like, people are always like, children. The children are always like, oh, hey, when my biggest wish is, and they want stuff like a model plane or the newest skin in Fortnite or, like, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a firefighter. And I just sit there being, I want to go to bed. I want to sleep. Just one time. Just have it it's lay down and there's just, I can just drift off to sleep in a very normal time frame. I have an absolute recovery during sleep, and no dipshit is ringing the doorbell, interrupting that.
Just wish for perfect sleep, or the property of not needing sleep. You're always perfectly awake.
Okay. Here's the thing. No. The last part, no. By the way, you're joining? Okay. We have a going activity, everyone. There we go. Let's talk about the abilities of sleep.
See, that's why I watched my wording, because if you have the property of never needing sleep and always be perfectly awake,
okay,
you avoid all the pitfalls that would normally go with not needing to sleep.
Yeah, point. But here's the thing I want to say. I love sleeping. It's like, oh, I don't need you. Shut up. You never lived.
Sleeping you could have fun all the time. Like, imagine if you're done with work, instead of sleeping, you have like 8 hours extra where you could do everything you want. And you would still not be tired in any way, shape, or form from sleep deprivation. Because everything you would normally get from a healthy amount of sleep, like sleepiness and tiredness, muscle aches, stuff like that, that would still be applied to you.
I know what you mean. It's just, can I say one thing? I like sleeping. I mean, here's the thing. Yes. Basically, Agonia just proposed the mentality my uncle lived by. If the 24 hours of the day are not enough, just add the night. But sleeping is wonderful. Like, nothing beats the whole, you just feel tired and you lay down in a comforting, warm bed and you drift off. And then your brain produces the most mind-boggling weirdness and you just wake up and like,
well,
I dreamt that.
The property of not needing sleep. Yeah. And having sleep added to you while you're awake, basically, wouldn't prevent you from dreaming. Because you can still sleep if you want to. That's why it's perfect. See, you're nervous, can't sleep for whatever psychological reason because brains are stupid. You can just stay awake and have fun.
Okay, question mark. Big question mark here. Do you say this because you genuinely believe this is better? Or do you say this because your ADHD is like, I want to do more, but my flesh is so weak?
Huh? Also, that wouldn't help with my ADHD.
No.
It would partially help because I would always have enough sleep despite having ADHD. But
No, the thing is, they wouldn't allow people to sleep if it was needed. That is actually very true.
yeah, but it's just for me.
Ah, so very egocentrical.
It's important if everybody doesn't need sleep. The capitalist society we live in, as pointed out by Hyvernox. Yes, Hyvernox.
Yeah.
Obviously wouldn't let us sleep.
Yeah.
So we need to
it's-
keep it a secret.
I mean, actually, the question is, would capitalism even keep existing if we...
Yes, it would.
I mean, maybe. I mean, you can make a revolution much better if people don't need to sleep.
That's true. If people are always fresh and awake and never tired, they would probably have more time and space in their head to plan a revolution.
That is true. I am so confused.
But since we would work more, I think mental health would be even more in decline.
Oh god, yeah. We live in shitty times. Also, hey, the moment we switch away from programming, what do we get? It's communism talk. Woo!
I like communism.
Yeah. What?
I like communism. At least the abstract concept.
The base thing, not the stuff that calls itself communist but isn't communist.
Yes.
Remember, kiddos? All those states that say they are communist are actually not really communist, and this whole notion that we all just accept it's communist literally was because of two sides of the propaganda warfare during the Cold War, basically settling on is it in some form.
Yeah, the Soviet Union was like, yeah, maybe we're doing something bad in imperialism, but it's for communist cause, so it's fine.
Basically, the Soviet Union wanted to be seen as communist because for prestige reasons, you know, it's like, it's good.
Yes, yes.
And then
also, like, everything they did was for communist reasons, according to them, so that's why it was okay.
We just had to invade that country for communist reasons, TM.
And then the USA rightfully pointed out that it's pretty shit, but also declared it communism, even though it isn't.
Because communism is bad. And now you have basically, if you have two gigantic propaganda machines constantly telling everyone what they're doing is communism, well, what do you think everyone nowadays thinks it's communism? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Honestly, I feel like there should be a bit of a like, you know, oh hey, you can't only talk about stuff like that when you have a slight bit of knowledge in psychology.
I have no knowledge of psychology. I still talk.
Yeah. What? By the way, if everyone's wondering why the fuck is everyone running around with World War II stuff here, they're kind of just cycling through modes right now, and one is just, hey, you can play with the 1942 classes on all the other maps of the game. And still have text print for some reason. Anyway. So, hey, British soldier on the quad bike. British soldier on the quad bike. But yeah, I just want to sleep. Sleep is good. But you know the worst part is I'm not sleepy enough right now. This is why I'm playing. Because we all need to do stuff. That's the worst part, you know? That's the worst part. And you're like, You know, you want to sleep, but you know, if you sleep now, you will lay awake, and that's worse.
Or you wake up after 3 hours.
Yes. So, you're like, okay, I need to reach the threshold where I know I'm sleepy enough. Meaning, you actually have to sit down and just keep yourself awake. And you're like in this fucking limbo of, any minute now. And then that minute just isn't coming, and then you're like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's just like, ow. Ow! The lower part of my right arm is now hurting.
So maybe you have bad posture while playing.
No! It's literally this part. You know, it's the one that's lying on the fucking table. What is wrong with my body?
I don't know.
Ah. I hate it when I'm too exhausted when to get tired. Yes! It's it. You're too exhausted to get tired. And you're like, why? Why the fuck is that a problem? Ah. You know, one of the biggest blunders this game did is, and I mean, they had a few blunders. But like, never adding, even just, not even fully, but you just in a version, Battlefield 5 class, setup, that was like, that's a miss, you know? That would have definitely been kind of a favorite thing to play for people. You know, recently I'm actually, my brain actually switched into map design mode again, because I love doing that. Ah, thank you. But also like, it's kind of funny, you know, I got ideas, or like working through it, and then suddenly I realized, ah shit, the idea I have right now, because, the problem for me is, all the games I would love to actually make maps for again don't have map editors. And I've tried. Yeah. Basically, you know, I was way too late on the party for Refractor Engine games, so that was a bummer. But yeah. There's this very stupid feeling, you know, that I think 6 might actually get at some point like an actual map designer. You know, that you not only can edit maps, but like actually make some of your own. Would be cool. And then I realized the stuff I'm currently working out would work better in 2042, which is ironic. You know, when you like look at a game and you're like, you know, oh yeah, people dislike that, it's basically gone in 3 weeks or so. Like, Battlefield 6 is in 3 weeks or so, right? That's gonna be a thing. I don't know when I get through that single player, because as said, Silent Hill F, also, yeah, thanks again, Claire, for pointing out that I can use Fanatical also. I will definitely look at those sites, because it's so, yeah, gaming prices are so stupid right now. You know, you look at it and they're like, oh, $80 for Silent Hill F. And it's like, I'm sorry, $80? No. It's just, it's 80 euros for Europeans, by the way. So like, it's just, it's so funny because everyone literally, you know what the worst part about this is, and it's so clear why they're doing it. Because the euro is like the one currency that hasn't shit the bed in recent years. So, because, you know, basically they're currently looking at the USA and, well, Britain, and they're like, well, those are still big markets, but we can't actually demand higher prices there, even though they should, because it's, you know, because you have the weaker currencies overall, because you know, keep tanking your economy with Brexit and bullshit and tariffs. And, you know, I'm not even blaming the industry for just because everyone's like, oh, they just want to raise prices. No. They raise prices due to a bunch of things, but the 80 euros thing is literally there because they know Europe is economically a lot stronger and we're basically fucking bankrolling your gaming experience right now. Hope you all are happy.
Sadly, no one is happy.
I know no one is happy. How can you? Like, I mean, you know, when people say, oh, mainland Europe has it so bad, and I just sit there being like, that's the people under Keir Starmer talking. We live in the fucking timeline where someone like Giorgia Meloni, who sucks, is not even nearly as bad as the fucking leader of Labour in Britain. Like, god damn it, why is England like that? Oh. Anyway, as you said on Blue Sky, by the way, Claire, let's bring out the fucking letters. I don't think his ass is going away. Because, like, when it gets pointed out that, you know, some of the people who are, like, genuine bigots, who are, like, are now, like, maybe bigotry isn't actually getting us anywhere. It's like, yeah, you know what? If those people jump ship, you fucked up so hard. I mean, that's fair, but also, I mean, but so many, you know, especially liberal politicians, they have their goddamn, they had their goddamn brains fried by social media. Because, I said this somewhere else, but like, the big problem people forget is that most people who are like, you know, right-wing and or, you know, liberal / centrist, they never left the schoolyard mentally. Period. They never did. Okay? What do I mean with that? Well, the thing is, you basically have two types thinking here. One are the liberals, who are basically the smart asses. They are always like, yes, but what you just said is factually wrong there. Sniffling and then be like, haha, I just showed you my intellectual superiority, and then they, probably go back home and look at themselves in the mirror and like, oh yeah, you're so intellectually superior. Their goal is to, feel superior to other people by being smart. they are, you know, the obnoxious nerds of high school. You know, not the cool nerds who are like kind of shy, but when you talk to them about a problem, they actually help you, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, they have the their little hobbies, but that's kind of cool, and you know, you hang out with them, and they're just kind of part of the group, but you know, you kind of just need to invite them. No, they are the ones that really want to tell you, I am smarter than you. I understand things. They're that. Then you have the fascists. Or, you know, right-wingers / conservatives. Those are the kids that were popular back in grade school and in kindergarten because their parents bought them the newest console and they had all the games. So they were, you know, they also had, you know, the most expensive Beyblade. They had all the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They were those kind of person, you know? They were those that just own shit by money, and due to that, because everyone was just kind of a dipshit child, everyone was like, well, you know, we want to play Smash Bros, so I guess we go to him. And then, when everyone grows up, and, you know, playing Smash Bros isn't, you know, the norm anymore, or, you know, by the way, the GameCube has become subsidized by the Wii, and the Wii is so cheap, so everyone now just owns the Wii and buys a used copy of Smash Bros. Melee for cheap, or owns Brawl, and no one cares anymore because you can now just hang out with your best friend. And, you know, groups are just not all about video games and owning toys anymore. Then these people get angry. Because suddenly, the reason people hang out with them vanishes. So they become bitter. And they basically think that, you know, they either want people to keep saying to them, oh yeah, you own that GameCube. You are the coolest guy because you own stuff. And if that doesn't work, they rather want to be feared. They want to, at best, pay someone off or be like, if you don't do as I want, my dad is going to sue you because he's rich and you're poor. I mean, again, no one falls for that, should fall for that, because we have laws, and especially in our countries, it's like, lol, LMAO, try that, you dumb shit. But again, they don't care. They just want to be at the top because they think they always belonged there and never analyzed. But why? And you know what both of those groups have in common?
Yeah, oversimplified generalizations.
They are oversimplified generalizations, but they are very broadly applicable to most of them in some form or other. But do you know what those two groups have absolutely in common? They fucking fear being the loser. The pathetic loser no one wants to hang out with. They do not want to be that person. Because again, one side wants to be feared, and if they don't get the feeling that brings them somewhere, and worse, makes them look like an idiot, they panic. And the other side wants to be seen as smart. And if they again get that feeling, this makes them seem like an idiot, they get angry. And this is why, when on social media, you see those comics about them, or, you know, about journalists or, you know, liberals just being like, you know, going through Twitter and they get like, I hope you die, you're worthless. You know, that's hatred. That's it, especially for liberals, that's unfounded, that's stupid. They're above that. They can take superiority from that. But one leftist telling them you suck, they have no rebuttal for that. They just can't. Because the moment you tell them you suck, you basically tell them they're the weirdo. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. As long as I'm winning, fascism is fine. That's just way too many times the case. And that's very bad. But, like, that's the reason, remember during the election, And the Democrats were on the insane run with Tim Walz, and he just called J.D. Vance weird, and it just sent everyone spiraling, and then got shut down internally by older liberals. You'd think, you know, I know people are like, why did this happen? Why? It was working so well, and the answer was yes. But the reason it stopped, you know, being a thing was literally because the liberals and the fascists are afraid of the same thing. So when suddenly one person with some sanity goes and just says to the fascists, well, you all are weird, and everyone is cheering, the liberal gets fear because this could mean this tactic could also be used against them. Those were a lot of people who want to feel, you know, superior in mind, and because they see the tactic of just saying you're fucking weird for doing that, they panic because they don't want to be weird. They want to be smart. Anyway, scathing socio-political analysis here. And overgeneralization. That is completely right, Agonia. I overgeneralized them, but it's kind of a thing, you know? You know, aside from those that are just literally in there because, well, if it benefits them, then may the world burn. They do not care. I'm kind of amazed how they made so many points for conquest in this mode. This is getting boring. Damn.
Hier, mach dich wieder fit.
Anyway.
Mach dich wieder fit. Hier, ein Medikit für dich.
Oh well. Yeah.
Leg dich zusammen.
Enemies have secured Sector Bertha.
Granate raus! Treffer! Ein Problem weniger.
Our attack on an objective in Sector Bertha is
Oh.
underway.
This was more for the chat, less about politics. But you know also what? Because I talked to you about this a while ago. Map design has become very sterile in recent years.
Yes, we had that talk.
Yeah. Most games just have really sterile maps, like, damn. I mean, I get why some are made the way they are. Like, for example, the one we're on right now is, it's simple. This one was simple to make. I don't hate Redacted. It's pretty solid in my opinion, but, yeah, like, God, it's so interesting to me because, like, the longer everything goes, and you know, we keep getting back, you know, we're getting more like attack and defense games, but all of the maps are just bland. Holy shit! And I get why, but also like. I'm just kind of amazed how much this is just the case. Like, I think the worst part about this isn't like especially saying maps are bad. They're just bland. They're like the most okay, this works fine, but it doesn't really have anything interesting going on. Like, maybe that's me being, you know, quote unquote older. Like, I've mapped before. I made stuff for Unreal Tournament and shit. It's like, I know sometimes you want to have some form of, how's it called? Symmetry. Or not. Like, actually, the asymmetrical part is usually the most interesting to figure out, but hey. The thing is just, I look at stuff like, you know, for example, Overwatch maps, and they're like, holy shit, are they bland if you think about it. Like, yes, you could say, oh, well, it's a hero shooter, so they have to make some stuff simpler. I know. But like, ever thought about how Overwatch maps are mainly just like, they have one elevation change. It's just like the most box standard setups, the most box standard sightlines, and fair enough, this makes maps that play pretty good, you know, that are balanced, but they're boring. Similarly, you know, when I look at a game, for example, at Valorant, and I do think a lot of people don't know what they're missing out on, because like every fucking map in Valorant is Mirage, and I'm not getting. I will not accept the excuse that, oh, it needs to be balanced around the heroes. No. They could make much more interesting designs overall, and it would still work, because like most of those abilities are just fucking grenades anyway. It's like, oh no, a fancy Molotov. But it's a bit. No, it's a fancy Molotov. Boo-hoo. You know? There's nothing interesting there anymore. Like, okay, let's just look at some comparatively older stuff, because like, yeah, I'm getting out the Counter-Strike hammer, because like, let me tell you, Valorant would still work if they made if they try to make a map similar to Nuke. And the Nuke is great. It's weird and it's great. It's one of those perfect examples of, you know, someone ironing out an unnormal idea. Like, that's the thing, you know? Nuke is a map, but only in the sense of, you know, you play on it in the game. Nuke in design isn't a map, it's a place first, and then they build stuff out of that. Like, hell, the objectives are above and under each other, that's cool as hell. You have ventilation shafts to crawl through. It's like, there's a whole different dynamic in how you do it. Like, the spawns are actually pretty close, but like, yeah, it's a weird map, but it works. Meanwhile, you have also stuff like Inferno, which is like, oh yeah, you have this long ass fucking banana, and, well, you have a long ass fucking banana. Like what, like, oh, you have the whole literal map on one side, and then, but you could also just rush through that thing. Like, that's, I think, I mean, Inferno was the reason we got Rush B as a meme. Because one point is like, yeah, you can attack from multiple angles, but it's also safer for the enemy. And then there was the banana. And the banana was like, listen, if we can just push through it and it's a lot easier to see everything there, we might just have this round. And like, that's missing, you know? Everything is just too... I mean, don't get me talking about modern Call of Duty maps who are also just like, well, here are 3 lanes and they are separated. You have like 1 elevation point. And you're just like, why? This is kind of like boring. Like, yeah. I don't even want to say, you know, because I know some people always go and be like, oh, this is just because it's more built for competitive gameplay. And it's like, no. I mean, let me put it like this. Yes, to a degree, we are looking at something that is like, that is to a degree tries to be, you know, a bit more on the balance / competitive side and less, we have an idea and we just fucking get it out. Because like, even, you know, without competitiveness, there's another thing that you do want to, that is just much more important nowadays, and that is, well, enjoyment. Like, that's a key thing I think most map designers actually value more. Like, here's the thing. I do think Battlefield as a series is still much more interesting in what it does with their maps. Like, they still have some people in their in the departments that sit down and just sometimes bang out a map where you're like, yeah, they do know how this shit works. They fail, but you know, it's not, you know, they fail at times, but at other times they succeed. Like, for example, Iwo Jima. It's like, that's from 5, and Iwo Jima is great and interesting and much more of a place than anything else. But like, if I look, for example, at Reclaimed here, okay? This is such a simplistic design. Even then I would say, actually, this should have been a zone. Like, I know why they did it, and I get it. If they moved those more out of the way and made, you know, maybe like the this flag more here, this flag more there, and put another one in the center and made the train yard bigger, much more interesting layout, but that's a different topic. Point is, this is still a safe design, and that's not directly bad, because this right here is not there to be competitive, by the way. This is there to just not suck. I think a lot of people start feeling that the safe stuff sucks, because it kinda does. That's a weird thing when I always hear people say like, oh, this is for competitive reasons and such. Like, not really. It's just also the fact that, I would say, in terms of, you know, social media, like, there's more feedback, there's like analysis nowadays online there. And also, you know, if you release something with a bad map, it's not just gonna go under, like, or, you know, maybe some fucking weirdos drown people out. Like, I'd say, yeah, most of it is actually monetary questions. Because before then, you know, the thing about multiplayer games were like, they were made, they were put out, you had like 1 or 2 updates in terms of maps, and that was it. Enjoy your time. And then, you know, by the way, updated maps are normal. Like, people behave as if the expansions were new. They aren't. It's just, I would say, we're getting much more. We're just getting less experimentation because it's less often, here's a theme, do something for that, and when it's out, that's that. Like, when I look back at some expansions, especially for example, you know, the Battlefield series, you have some where people say, this was great. Then some where you literally had, wow, this is amazing. And then you turn around and we're like, wow, this is dog shit. And this kept happening. It's kind of insane. Like, oh, example, you know, if you go, for example, to, that's a good example. Oh yeah, hey, we're making an expansion with the biggest maps in Battlefield that Battlefield 3 has. And then you have stuff, for example, like the biggest map in the series history. You know, okay, technically that's Hellboy, but that's a Battle Royale map, so... Anyway. And turns out that map was actually shockingly good. Like, yeah, you looked at it and they were like, damn, that's good. And then you had Elbows Mountain. Okay, where to begin? That's actually a perfect example of why I would say, you know, a lot of people don't understand why maps are made in certain ways, because there's an irony about Elbows Mountain. It's balanced. It sucks, but it's balanced. Like, basically, the irony about how Elbows Mountain is a quote-unquote balanced experience is the fact that there's technically a bunch of stuff that is, you know, for one or the other team, is a pretty big advantage. It just basically counters the bullshit advantage the other team has in some form. So you're like, yep, that's technically balanced. That's not a problem. But you know how it is when you play something and it's just, well, that's bullshit. You just get something that's annoying. I'm going to bail this one.
We are hitting Bravo 1.
But yeah, not really seeing a lot of interesting designs anymore. That's sad. I wish more games would actually experiment with, you know, more interesting designs and more. Like, honestly, I rather look at, I rather have some maps that are just weird as shit, but actually try stuff out than, well, oh yeah, look, we have a very simple layout. It has like just 3 lanes, and it works, and it's fine. It doesn't offend. And it's like, god damn it, I don't want maps that don't offend me. I want maps that have some edges, you know, that have something on them. Because yeah, the old-timer you probably won't make. Maybe you will make it. I don't know, maybe. Hey, I don't know, maybe you can get into mapping and maybe you will make that one map that just keeps, you know, living rent-free in someone's head. Positive or negative. Do it. But yeah, it's kind of just sad that we don't have that anymore. And I feel like we are in this in this cycle right now where, you know, new people who get into that, into this, into mapping and such, they also only know the, you know, the pretty average bland design and think like, well, that's just how you do it. And they just keep repeating it. I don't know. Hey, look at me. I'm sitting here and I'm ranting about multiplayer map design. Because, I mean, it's actually kind of interesting. I do think there is a big difference though, because I think also how people perceive maps. Because, like, let me be clear. When I look at, like, a lot of old maps, they were kind of complex beings, you know? But in the sense of, you had, like, a lot of areas and sub-areas. Like, you know, usually you could say, you know, there is, you know, top, center, and bottom lane, because that's just a normal thing. This is probably kind of the funniest part when then people say, oh, thing X has 3 lanes. No way! The most basic way of designing any type of map in any type of multiplayer game exists! Wow! And then you're like, and then you're gonna tell me it's just a sign of something else. No, the thing is, if you make something where, you know, the 3 lanes are obvious, the people will see it and they will feel smart, even though it has, you know, nothing to say about it. Honestly, the indie games are kind of similar. Let's just be real here to a degree. I mean, I'd say yeah, to a degree. You have the problem of just there's a downslope in who makes stuff, because, like, I mean, making a multiplayer game before was just like, oh yeah, you know, you either did a multiplayer for a game, on, you know, now you don't. And also, I will say, one of the biggest problems we have is the fact that one of the studios that is really fucking good at making multiplayer games isn't making a multiplayer game anymore. And I know. If you say, like, what? That's the case. And, like, I'm not gonna be someone who's gonna say they should go back, because, you know, every studio should do what they want. But, like, damn. But yeah, when it comes to indies, and I look at some of the stuff, you know, especially those like, you know, more mid-tier and smaller ones put out, they're not that much better to the big degree. Yeah, I mean, maybe we could have more in terms of I mean, we do need something for mapping again, and like that is why I'm actually like pretty much looking forward to the fact that there is an editor on Battlefield 6, and I do hope they might expand that to, hey, maybe first selected people or not, you know, they can actually get a better version, because it's just not something people practice a lot anymore, I would say. I mean, then you also have the fact that, again, weirdness is also not it is also like just more people working on something. Like when I hear the stories about like, oh hey, this map was how this map was made in like previous entry for Battlefield, for example, it's like they're more like, oh yeah, we maybe need one map like that to just round out the map pool, and then people were like, yeah, good, yeah, sure, do that, and then they just hammered that out in like 2 weeks, and you're like, what the fuck? And you just have other bad practices, like there's not a lot of asset reusage between games, or you know, just in games, because like here's another thing, for example. Previously, it's more like, you know, you make a game with single player path, okay? or map, asset asset libraries. So basically, it's more like, okay, this is one theme, this is the other theme, this is that theme, and then you sit someone down and it's like, okay, you have this to work with. Make something. And you usually end up with something. Is it gonna be good? Who knows? I would say though, ironically, the less people make a map, the more interesting it turns out to be in the end. Like, again, I hate great man theory, and don't get me wrong, you want some help actually, in the end, making things nice and such, but like, if you have someone have an idea and lay it out and make it, it's gonna be a personal thing, because they want to go somewhere. If you just have more people working on one map, it's just like, no, we need to do this different, we need to do this different, like, no, let someone cook. And now I'm just... And also, we should just be more open to more, that studios can just eat out more bullshit again, because, like... Let's just be clear here. Sometimes you need bullshit to happen to make something good out of it. You know? Like... There we go. Damn. Nice. What? Yeah, the performance in this area of the map is just kind of bad, I would say. Like, I mean, a good example, in my opinion, is from Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5. And I'm talking a lot about Battlefield and maybe Call of Duty, because those are like a lot of the games I played myself. And also, if you're like, but what about Counter-Strike? Oh, Counter-Strike, you mean the game where a bunch of weirdos basically made the whole map pool in 1.6, and then all the good maps just were constantly ported over to Source and Global Offensive. You mean that game that just doesn't never change its map pool instead of otherwise updating it? I mean, hell, the reason, even there you have a good example, and it's called DE Dust 2. I'm not kidding. See, DE Dust was a good map. But the guy that made it was like, hey, people like this. This is a good map. I can, take a lot of the ideas of this map and make like a secondary version that does it in a different, more interesting way. There's a reason people say DE Dust 2 might be the best multiplayer map in human history. It isn't. But it's probably still the best map in Counter-Strike. Mostly because, like, what's the thing they added? Like, there's one map they added in Go. It's good. But still.
Yeah, but that's not the settings clutch.
I mean, yes, that's different genre, but it's Satan's Clutch, I know.
Can't play shooter on there.
Actually, okay, now that you say, you know what? If they ever add a full editor to Battlefield 6, I'll make Satan's Clutch Conquest. Okay? It's gonna be a weird shit show, I tell you that. Anyway, but yeah, another good example I want to point out is that they had a Russia expansion in Battlefield 1. And here's the thing, 5 out of 6 maps were ass. I'm not even kidding. Like, holy shit. Maybe one was... Maybe there was one more that was not that ass, but I digress. Like, they were ass. And one was actually really good. But anyway. That's the only one I actually tested. And you know, they had one map in there called Zaritzen. And Zaritzen is stupid. Like, the idea is cool, because basically they just had one big cathedral in the center of the map, and the idea was that's the whole capture point. Okay, here's the thing. Imagine this. You have one big building in the center of the map. There are like 4 entryways that are pretty narrow. The thing itself inside is multi-layered and you can shoot outwards. Surrounding it is nothing. A few trenches, but nothing. It's a 3-flag map. So basically, everyone would fight for the center map, for the center flag, and it's kind of a grind. It's a shit map. Like, no one liked to play it. It was just bullshit, you know? Like, bullshit piled up on bullshit. Then Battlefield 5 rolled around. Base game. Devastation. Correct me if you heard this. How about a map with one big church in the middle that is also a capture point? And you're like, isn't that the same thing? Yes, but the difference is one of these maps is a small 3-lane flag and sucks, and the other one actually has cover around everything because it's a destroyed city. The church has like actually so many multiple entryways. There are 5 flags. So, and there maybe there's even some vehicle gameplay, but it's kind of, you know, pushed, smooched together because, you know, you're in a destroyed urban city, so it's kind of hard to do. Looks like someone took the concept of something and learned from all the mistakes. It's like, maybe we should do that more. But then again, the more we have stuff like about the internet and stuff, it's like, oh, hey, no, we need to make stuff that is enjoyable from the start. And like, you can't improve if you don't fuck up sometimes. Like, I'm also made my fair share of designs that's just awful. Like, seriously, anyway, hope you liked this rant about map design. And it's all because my brain just currently thinks about that again and has ideas, and I kind of hate the fact that I will never be able to probably realize that, or if I need to compromise that, because the whole thing it hinges on design. It's cool, but frustrating at times. But yeah, by the way, with indie games, I'm not actually like putting too much hope in that, because like I played how's it called? We played Insurgency for a while, you know, the original, and let me just put it like this. Basically, all the interesting maps were things they kept from the mod, and even then, they kept restricting them more and more and more and more. So, yeah, I'm not betting on them too much. Also, a lot of the new maps, the devs themselves, that were just like, holy shit, this is just kind of basic. What? Yeah. But also, you know, another thing I would say is that a lot of times I don't think a lot of core design aspects of games are actually figured out that much. Because, like, you know, we talked about Overwatch before. Here's the thing. Overwatch keeps ignoring what makes the game work. Like, let's just make this a bit more clear, okay? So, since launch, Overwatch has kind of a bit of a design confusion inside of its, well, design, basically. And it's not dealing with it in the smartest way. You might not notice that, but this is like one of those perfect examples in terms of design where there isn't really a problem in the sense of it ruins the game, but it is a problem that has just ripple effects down the line that drags things down. So, for example, okay, basically the most obvious thing I would have to point out is just, oh, I died. Anyway, when Overwatch launched, it had basically 4 modes. There was payload, there was attack points, and then there was either a mixture of, you know, do payload and attack point, or attack point do payload. Now, the crucial thing to understand here is that all of these 3 I mentioned work pretty much in harmony, okay?
Committed half our resources.
And then there's domination, well, King of the Hill. King of the Hill works, but put that in quotation marks, because it works in part. And goddamn it, did it have a lot of ripple effects down the line. The thing here is, if you have modes that are basically designed around same-ish goals, you can build a feature set of mechanics that perfectly enhance that, you know, those modes. That's like, I mean, that should be game dev 101, but like, why am I kidding? I've seen it in a lot of games where this isn't the case. And this is like, and here's an interesting thing, because if you then are Overwatch, and you actually have this absolutely stupid idea where this is probably coming from of we are balancing everything around competitive, you run into an interesting problem, because one of your modes is just working selectively for your lineup, which isn't the biggest problem at launch, but the more your game goes into hard counters, the more it just is visible. So what do? Well, you could actually just sit down and realize that maybe King of the Hill is a bit asynchronous to everything else and doesn't allow this much of expansion, because it literally means everything new you put in the game in terms of playability has to be workable in a game mode that's basically just a tiny map and a bunch of idiots zerking onto a point. That's it. You can't add really more. So, or you could, but then it's just like, suddenly everyone realizes, wait, most of this shit isn't working here. So, what do? Well, you just keep fucking cutting your game. You rework the how everything works. You make you reduce the types of classes down. Your design becomes much more generic. And that's an interesting thing, because it just kept getting more and more generic as long as we go on. This isn't directly meaning that the game got bad, but it got blander. There was never this moment where they could actually sit down and be like, okay, we're doing basically one type of game style. How can we expand that? How can we add their new mechanics? How can we make each map more interesting? The more they, basically hamper down on their design, the less they can actually make. Now you're probably wondering, hey, why did they do dominate, King of the Hill in the first place? The answer is pretty simple: Team Fortress 2. But here's the thing they don't understand about Team Fortress 2. Okay? Team Fortress 2 has a fuck ton of maps and a fuck ton of modes, because every map is built just for a singular mode again. The problem with Team Fortress 2 is, while Overwatch has the design philosophy of, we need to make everything viable, and if this means we need to tune down everything and make it more generic, then so be it. The design philosophy of Team Fortress 2 is summed up as fuck it, we ball. If they have an idea, they do it. They do not care about the consequences. They will throw shit at the player and say, figure it out yourself, dumbass. They went and gave basically everyone a whole set of melee weapons just because they wanted to have one map that is just literally everyone running around with swords and axes and killing each other. This doesn't work on those stuff. So, let me just be clear here. On a design level, Team Fortress 2 is kind of an incoherent mess. And that's kind of the beauty of it, I mean, you probably don't have any other game where you can look at so many individually good ideas to just make it their own game out of. It makes the game incoherent, and you could say, the general player experience kind of lagged, if you weren't in the material to know where you looked for everything. But it worked. Made it memorable. It's just, again, then someone tried to copy it and make it a bit more of a coherent experience, and then they just overlooked the fact that you can't just copy every single fucking mode. You need to have coherent sets for everything. They could have kept, you know, assault and defense heroes in Overwatch if they literally just focused on, I don't know, having just assault and defense modes. They could have expanded massively what those roles meant and what they could do, because suddenly, well, you're designing around literally one playstyle, meaning you can just throw in more bullshit. That's why, you know, a while ago I posted that, you know, it's cool that defense modes games are coming back, and they will never have any a map that is as quarter good as Demovan Peak, because holy shit, Demovan Peak is good. It's like it's one of those maps, you know, you play and you come out of it and you're like, wow, that was an experience, TM. You know, like literally the marriage of extremely good design with insane variety. And just every mechanic is you know, just most, I think aside from boats, everything is just kind of present there and it just works, you know? Well, you look at Overwatch and, you know, what do we have? Oh, look. This payload has something on it, so you can't place a turret down. And this payload has a flat surface, so you can place something down on it. And you're like, oh, how innovative! And then all these sectors are just kind of boring, and they have the same elevation changes, and it's just like, where's the stuff that just goes up, you know? Where's the stuff that makes you go, ah, that's interesting? And so we're just kind of living in an age where multiplayer games just become more bland because, well, I don't know. People just don't do risks anymore. Like, or, you know, I guess people look at a risky idea and I go like, nah, that's not good. That wouldn't be fun. It's like, who knows? Like, one of the most popular maps in Battlefield 3 is fucking Operation Metro. That thing is a metro station. It's absolutely amazing, 32-player Rush. It's not even the best Rush map in the game. Again, that's Demovan Peak. But damn. They just went and built that. And they didn't care. And I think that's one of the design, you know, the more principle we should actually all adopt when we're designing maps. If you like designing maps, just stop caring. I mean, care about your stuff, but don't care that much as much as what other people think about it, because in the end you don't know. You can maybe guess. It will just drive you insane. Just make a fun concept. And you can still go and be a bit sad, because then you look at stuff like Insurgency and, you know, all the maps just have become more sterile and, you know, oh yeah, there's more dead space between the separate lanes, and then you look at them and you're like, oh god. And then it's like, also, you know what, I could go off about Insurgency, about they're like, let's actually clamp down on freedom about moving through a map, and now we have sectors on us for attack and defense, and then those sectors are just extra tight, and you're like, why? And then it's also like, now we change that the movement is slower and bullet damage is just a bit higher, and also your fucking recoil is higher, and you're like, wait, are you changing how the fucking game works? And oh god, that's the biggest problem indies have, in my opinion, Hybernox. This isn't like this is just like, you know, yes, make the game you want, but have the fucking spine to accept that when you make something that people like and it isn't what you wanted to do in the first place, that you maybe don't go and try to change that posthumously. Because that's just stupid. Like, and that's not even indies that do that, but it keeps happening. Like,
Ready to deploy.
how much do we have? Oh, half of it. Oh, well. Other time, other place. Probably tomorrow or so. Because, like, let's just go over a few things, you know? Because this part of, you know, oh, we didn't make the game we wanted to, so we're changing it now, is just such an issue, I think. You know, it's talking about Insurgency, and Insurgency was good. It was really like, yeah, it was basically, I always said, it's basically a more fleshed out hardcore mode of Call of Duty. And this was meant very positively. So basically, it was a game where you could see, okay, yes, you die fast. You know, this was more in the terms in, you know, what people see more in, you know, hardcore games, / realistic games. But crucially, absolutely crucially, it was a game that still had a bit of arcadey stuff. You know, you could still do some maneuvers. You had some mobility. And damn, people like that. I will just say, here's the thing. Because the original Insurgency had a peak of 121,000 people. That's a lot for an independent game. Sandstorm, 40,000. And between those games happened the fact that there was people started playing Insurgency, they had fun, and then the devs started patching out literally the fun because they realized people were playing it, you know, less like they were intended to, because, you know, they had one big surge of like players, and those players suddenly were like, oh, I can actually play this one really aggressively as well. That's fun. And then they started patching that out because they wanted to have, you know, a realistic game that you play slow and methodically. And like, I'm sorry, you didn't make that game. Then people played it, and then you realized, shit, we didn't make that game. And then they just kept making that. And yeah, the second game, they really just wanted to be a remake of, you know, the first one, you know, but like more methodical and tactical. Well, doesn't have the same all-time peak anymore as the first one. Then, oh, another really prevalent thing that happened, which is just like, yeah, remember BattleBit Remastered? Remember that? I know some people still say, oh, the game is good. Listen, it's called Remastered because they had a version before that, which tried to be a Milsim game. Then the thing happened. See, aside from the fact that this game is just now missing in action, basically, they saw Battlefield 2042 come out. Battlefield 2042 was kind of unpopular. So they sat down and just retuned their game to be more like Battlefield. And people liked it. And now they're like, ah, shit, we didn't actually make the game that we wanted to make. So now they're so now it sounds like they want to revert that and want to make it more, you know, hardcore and realistic again. Which they started doing anyway. So, lol, LMAO. Why are you doing this? Why can't you just settle on one game design? And you're thinking like, well, maybe that's it. It's not even indies. Fucking Ubisoft does it. Rainbow Six Siege was really popular. And you know what? I like Rainbow Six Siege. Liked is probably the better word. Because what happened? Well, something is out of whack in terms of design. Let's nerf it into the ground. But also, let's make the game so fucking slow that it feels more like a methodical counter-pick thing, like what they present in the first place. Sorry, you made a game and people liked it. Live with that. Or not. I don't know. I'm just saying it's a very stupid practice to do that. Anyway, now I destroyed my vocal cords. Hope you had fun listening to me rant about game design and devs doing bullshit decisions. See you all tomorrow when we play a game where the devs didn't make bullshit decisions. Outward. Isn't that right?
True.
What? Why are you saying true in that way? Now you're confusing me.
Oh, I just tuned out for a long, long time. Because you were monologuing.
I'm very sorry. I like to monologue sometimes.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, Outward. Tomorrow. And have a good night and have a good weekend. Bye.